You are listening to the Real Men Feel Show with your hosts Andy Grant and Appio Hunter. Real Men Feel is all about encouraging men to allow and express all of their emotions. Despite what you may have been taught, all emotions do serve you. Real Men Feel is committed to opening up discussions that most men aren't having, but you certainly don't need to be a man to join us. The Real Men Feel podcast is produced live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern for your growth and enjoyment. You can find more information about the Real Men Feel movement at realmenfeel.org. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe on iTunes by visiting realmenfeel.org/iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter at realmenfeel.org and at facebook.com/realmenfeelshow. All links mentioned in each episode are in the show notes found on the blog at realmenfeel.org. This is a weekly program, and your comments, feedback, and participation are welcome during the live show and anytime in the Facebook group, on Twitter, or at realmenfeel.org. Now, let's get into this week's show. Hello and welcome, all you fine visitors and listeners, and welcome to Real Men Feel. I'm your host, Andy Grant. And today is a very special episode 52, and, well, it's special to us because we're recording on a Sunday, which will probably throw my whole week off, but nonetheless, we're glad to be here. So, first of all, let me bring in my friend and co-host, Appio Hunter.
Hey, Andy, and I have to say that I'm really glad that we're recording today because it gives me Tuesday to spend time with my granddaughter, because usually that's the day that it's our responsibility to take care of her, but since I'm recording Real Men Feel, I'm usually at home by myself, and my husband is the one who's off taking care of the granddaughter. So I get to go see her on Tuesday. So I'm excited.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I figure I'll be like walking around like, what was I supposed to do tonight?
Right?
We'll see what happens. We also want to give the official welcome and greeting to our guest this week, men's transformational coach. Wow.
It's Sunday, all right.
Yeah. Men's transformational coach, Jonathan Hermida.
Hey guys, really
how's it going?
Very good, very good. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, and I want to let everyone know why we're kind of off our usual time is because Jonathan is coming to us live from Berlin, Germany.
That's right.
So, did Germany call to you? This is where you've been living and working for a long time, or what got you in Germany?
I don't have a German accent.
Not that I've noticed yet.
Don't even ask me to speak some German because it's not going to happen. But, yeah, so I have this affinity for travel. I've been traveling, and that kind of goes into how I got here. So maybe I could actually go into that because that'll perfectly transition into how I'm in Berlin.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Wow.
so my journey to being a men's transformational coach started with being a young guy who just felt lost, who felt overwhelmed by life, by my life situation. A lot of deep shame, that was inside of me that I was trying to find answers for. I just felt, all I knew was that I felt insecure and I felt uncomfortable in myself. And so I started picking up book after book. And miraculously, each book became the bridge that allowed me to understand the next book, and then the next book, and then the next book. And so some of those early books were The Power of Now, Wherever You Go Now You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn, which is how I got into meditation, which was just like absolutely transformed my life. So this all started about 10 years ago in 2007. And so that thirst, that hunger for evolution, for growth, for healing began then. And to fast forward a little bit to 2009, I was in a corporate job doing business-to-business sales, selling telecommunication services to small businesses. Woo! Great fun. It was a lot of cold calling, a lot of knocking door to door, just, very intense work. And so that obviously was not in alignment with the path that I was on, the path of just discovering who I am and what my purpose is. And so I decided, actually, the day I got a promotion, I got promoted, and I go, I need to quit. I need to get out of here. And to show you, and that was my first taste of life showing up to meet me where I was, and understanding that life was taking care of me. So I decided, I got the promotion. I decided to quit. I got on the phone with my best buddy in the call center that I was in, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to quit. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know in 4 months I'm going to leave. I'm going to go travel somewhere. he was having lunch with my ex-boss. I used to work in a construction management business. And he tells her, and she goes, what? I need somebody to work for 3 to 4 months starting yesterday. Literally, right then and there, I'm still in the call center in my old job. She's saying she needs somebody to start yesterday. I go, great, I'm available. and so I quit that job, go home, and start the new job the next day. And so those 4 months that I was working there, I was planning my adventure trip to South America, where that was my first taste of travel. And that's why I was tying all this together. So we can go into the details of that, but I'll fast forward through it and just say that I spent a year traveling through South America, which then introduced me somehow to South Korea, because everybody that was there had told me, if you go to South Korea, you could teach English and make money while you're out there. And I was like, that sounds interesting, because I'm eating up all my savings. So making some money sounds pretty good right about now. And so I went to South Korea. I spent 6 months back home in Miami, and I went to South Korea after that. And then actually what happened was towards the end of my contract, my mom got diagnosed with cancer. And so that was, you guys might not even have to ask me any questions in this interview. I'm just going to be
run on through.
This is your space, my friend. Go for it.
And so so actually my time in Korea put me in touch with coaching. And actually that's when I discovered coaching. I hired my own coach. I discovered the coaching profession. And I was like, wow, this has been everything I'd been training for without realizing it. All the books that I had been doing, the courses I had been attending, the trainings, all that stuff. And so I was like, wow, this brings it all together. Are you kidding me? And so I engaged in a deep coach training program at the International Coach Academy. That's a accredited coaching school. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. I finished that training. And right when I finished it, it was about the end of my contract. And I was going to continue going to India and all these different places to continue my self-development and begin my coaching practice. And again, that's when I got the news about my mom. And so that took me back home, and I became my mom's primary caretaker there. And I'll fast forward through that time. We could go into that for sure. I don't mind going into that, but I'll fast forward it to kind of, so we could ping pong a little bit, and it's not just a monologue here. And so after my mom ended up passing, and I guess everything is involved in there, because I met my girlfriend actually when I went back home, not expecting to meet anybody, not expecting anything actually, other than to take care of my mom. And I actually met this woman that I absolutely fell head over heels for, and that ended up showing up in such an incredible way. She ended up being my partner through the most difficult time period of my life, and showing such grace, such amazing. I mean, she became my mom's best friend, imagine, during this time period. And I get emotional every time thinking about it, because it's like, how does life provide such amazingness, within such tragedy at the same time? It's like, I feel so conflicted about that time still, because it's both one of the most tragic time periods of my life and also one of the most blessing filled time periods of my life. And so after my mom passed, we had been dreaming about traveling together, because since I had spent a lot of time abroad, obviously we got to talking about, traveling the world. And so we made the decision that it was the healthiest thing to do after a few months for me to get out of Miami, decompress, and travel the world, And so we used the fact that I was telling you guys the story that Nati, my girlfriend's brother, was living in Germany at the time. And so that's when we decided, okay, Germany sounds like a good option. And so we'll spend 3 months with them, see how it goes, and take it from there. Well, it turns out that the day after we got there, they break up, which completely, changes all our plans. And again, long story short, from our time 3 months being there, we discovered Berlin, and Berlin was an amazing place that we love, just very young, very vibrant, so much going on. They have meditation centers, yoga studios, healthy eating. It's in the center of Europe, so it's easy access to all these different cities. So it was perfect for us, for everything we were looking for. And since we're lucky enough to have a laptop lifestyle, we decided to do it. And we've been here for about 8 months ever since.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I really love the phrase you shared earlier about back for your first trip, it was really life, your first time you're experiencing life rising up to meet you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which really feels like one of the big overarching teachings of the power of now and the similar work. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So as you
Yeah.
stop fighting and complaining about whatever experiences you have, you're opening yourself up to better ones and supportive ones, it seems.
Exactly. And it's being courageous enough to take those steps. One of my favorite books out there is The Surrender Experiment. Are you guys familiar with it?
I don't know that one.
Or you are, Appio?
Yeah, yes, I am. I just know just the overall. I haven't actually read it myself, but I've had several friends who have told me about it. And just the whole idea is to literally surrender yourself to every experience that comes along. Say, take every opportunity to say yes whenever possible. Just allow yourself to flow and to go and to just, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I could talk about this stuff forever because at the end of the day, it goes down to what do we believe is at the core of life? Do we believe that life is just this materialistic space where we have to do everything in order to survive? It's literally up to us, to make sure that every last detail of our life is taken care of. If not, good luck to us. I don't think so, because first of all, if we were in charge of beating our own hearts or digesting the food, we'd all be dead within minutes because we'd forget. We'd be on our iPhone and forget to beat our heart or do all these things. So luckily, there's this streamlined system that's put into place that we don't have to worry about those things. And actually, when you go deeper, and I've experimented with this deeply the past 6 years, there is a flow to life, to our life experience that brings to us the very events and the very people that we most need in order for us to continue growing and in order for us to continue evolving. And it's only when we interrupt that process with our fear-based mind, thinking we know better than this process that's naturally unfolding, that life becomes choppy, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
Right on. Cool. Yeah. And you also touched on something that I want to revisit again, just because to honor it as part of your experience and to share with every other guy that's in there, might go be there, et cetera. But you talked about being the primary caregiver for your mom.
Yeah.
So did you have any sort of medical training? Were you set up to take on that role in any official way?
No. And I have all these like tears welling up thinking about that time period. It's at all, and what I mean about primary caretaker, it's literally the person. It's not that I needed to, I was a nurse, but I wasn't, officially giving her, dosage and doing stuff like that. I was just doing what I can. And so what I was doing was, I was making sure she was eating the right food. I was researching alternative medicines. I put her on cannabis oil, which was very effective for her. To help her through the pain and to help her with her eating and all these different things. And it was a whole lot of fun for her to distract herself a little bit from her situation. So we had a lot of fun with that together. And man, it was tough. I'm actually in the process of creating a speech right now about that time period and that relationship with my mom. And boy, it's nothing will ever prepare you for, and my mom was only 57. She's a young woman, and so she was, everything I remember of her is her being strong and vibrant. So to see somebody so strong and vibrant become so fragile and just emaciated, and just, it's like she just got eaten up, and it was such a difficult time period because it's like she wanted to live life. She wanted to experience things and her body was just not letting her. And so God, what's so different? What's so interesting about that time period? Because you have that point of view, right? The point of view, like, fuck, man, this woman really, why is this happening to her? Why? She wants to live. She wants to be here. And then at the same time, we were experiencing such amazing time periods. We had a very contentious relationship growing up because we're so alike. We're both so stubborn, and we were so hard-headed. And so she always wanted things her way, and I always wanted things my way. And it's interesting, in the speech, I have this scene, the opening scene where, here I am standing with a spoonful of cannabis oil, ready to give it to my mom, and she shakes her head no. And we find ourselves in a very similar position. And when I was a little boy, she would serve us these huge bowls of something called potaje, which is a Cuban lentil soup. She didn't care that I was a 3-year-old boy. She would serve us a bowl the size of enough for the Hercules or something like, a grown man. She wouldn't let us get off the table until we finished eating that. And so she would, for whatever, she really wanted us to eat healthy. And so she would, and I would rebel and I would turn red and shake and not want, spit the food out and like throw tantrums. Right. And we would fight and that kind of thing. And then it's interesting how the roles reversed. I was just thinking about how, then it became her having those tantrums. Like, no, I don't want it. It tastes like shit. And I'm like, it'll do you some good. Try it out. Give it. And then it's remembering, having that flashback and just seeing how crazy life is, how crazy the wheel of life is, and how it brings you, I don't know. I don't even know if it's called that full circle, but it brings, I don't know, balance. I don't know what it is, but interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting that there was a parallel. It's interesting that during that time period, we healed so many of the wounds that we had between us, so much friction. So it's inevitable. We just became dependent on each other in a sense, in a beautiful way, not in a codependent space, but in a very wonderful, healthy way. And so.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, and again, I want to commend and call out your courageousness, your willingness, your lack of resistance. That again, if you said you had a contentious relationship, so the notion that a gift showed up in both of your lives for this healing opportunity that was, the healing embedded in sickness was kind of a weird thing that I'm sure wasn't on your wish list.
No,
but the big picture it sounds and feels like a really great experience.
Yeah, imagine, and like that's a perfect example of not like my biggest thing at that point in my life, that this was in 2014, was not to resist life. Just understanding that everything was a process, that I couldn't understand what the big picture was, and that I'm going to embrace whatever comes my way. And so again, I had plans. I'm still dying to go to India. I really wanted to go to India. I thought it was the next stop. I thought that's what was going to happen. I was going to go on all these, just all these spiritual quests and all these different things that this journey that I was on. And life goes, nope, you're coming home. And I go, okay, let's see what's here. And then 5 months into it, I meet Nati, my soulmate, and I'm like, what is happening here? Actually during that time period in Korea, actually during this whole journey of mine, I got in touch with a lot of emotional and psychological trauma, having to do with my relationship with both my parents and their relationship and their divorce and all these different things. And so intimate relationships felt really scary to me, and so I always maintained sort of a superficial relationship with women, making sure I was the one to break up with them before they broke up with me. I wasn't the one to get hurt. They were going to get hurt, not me. And so it was that kind of rigidity inside of me, the tightness that I was getting in touch with, and slowly but surely softening into, and just being willing to put myself out there. And so when I did meet her, it was kind of like, okay, you've been talking a big game, but now it's now it's time to show up and put yourself out there. And interesting enough, she gave me a run for my money. She didn't make it easy at first, and it made me see that, okay, I'm for real. I'm for real about this, about wanting to put myself out there. Here I am, really like being as vulnerable as I can, telling her about my deepest fears and vulnerabilities, and her kind of totally being receptive to that, but not sure if she wanted more. She wanted to go further. And so finally, when we broke through, it was just such a beautiful. It was beautiful. It was beautiful that life showed up again. I decided to be courageous enough to kind of move through that ickiness, inside of me, and see what can come. And what came was what came was love. What came was love.
It's interesting when you were talking about that rigidity that was just being broken down. I got this image in my head of it gets softened, but in the process of being softened, it's like all of your bones inside are just being broken and remolded and reassembled, if you will. It's like everything that you ever thought was a quote unquote truth. And it can be very emotionally painful, emotionally traumatic, and yet the end result ended up being so much more than we could have ever dreamed possible.
Oh my God. Right on. Right on. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's almost like the trick to life. It's almost like as if life is testing us and saying, how badly do you want this? Because if you do, you have to go through this. You have to go through the dragon's lair. And are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? And then once you go, you realize that it wasn't a dragon as much as it was an optical illusion that was, and the fear was keeping you from even getting there, because it was very realistic. It was like this 4D optical illusion where there's fire and there's lights and there's smoke and all these things, and you think it's so real, but then you go through and it's like literally a hologram, and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't so bad, but getting through that is it's easier said than done, because the experience of it is
a lot.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, just last night I actually had my stepson was introducing me to his newest little plaything, which was virtual reality goggles on his PS4, and he put me into this experience. It was like immersing, and like you're diving down into to retrieve some stuff from this wreck. And by the time that I finished, it was like only about an 8-minute experience, but by the time I was finished, I was literally seasick. I mean, I had to find something just to kind of settle my stomach. It was that real. So yeah, what you're talking about, that illusion can appear so real at times, and we buy into it so fiercely. Yeah. And then letting it go, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing experience for sure.
It is amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, how have you taken all these experiences, all of your journey, and now you're being of service to other men? How is that working for you?
Oh my God, this is just amazing work, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. Even just being in these conversations with guys like you, and just having these conversations, and how many men are having these conversations? I don't know the answer to that, but not many, and it's so important for us to be able to just speak our minds and be free to share and open up. And so it's amazing. It's amazing offering that space for guys and having guys step up to the plate, because and wanting to show up, because it's, what it is, what I've found, that guys have this feeling of finally there's a space for me. Finally, there's a space where I can show up as myself, and I could say whatever it is that's on my mind and what I'm feeling, what's in my heart, and just be open, because that is the most healthy thing for any of us to be able to do. And so, we talk about the mask of masculinity, and my God, that appearing to be strong and put together and appearing as though we got everything figured out. That is the most destructive force out there for us guys. Because everything we're like peacocks, right? We're fluffing up our feathers, to appear to be, put together and all this shit. And in reality, we feel like we're crumbling inside, and we're not being true to ourselves. We don't even feel comfortable opening up to our partners. We don't feel comfortable opening up to our friends, because for guys, we always have to be like, tough and, in the sport, that kind of quintessential manly man, but I think so many guys, especially nowadays, are secretly, if not already outwardly, desiring to change that. Yeah. And so it's almost like what I feel is just, I'm nobody to give anybody permission, but all I am is just somebody willing to have this conversation. And by having this conversation and being as real and open as I possibly can be, if guys relate to that and resonate to that and want to be in a space where they can begin creating that whole life, everything, all of it, because at that point, so many of us guys are just focused on success and outward things and getting a partner, and everything's external. But the real game is the inner game. The real game, the real name of the game is healing what's keeping us from bringing in the abundance of not just material things, but the abundance of feeling and the abundance of sharing, because it's that whole inner space that opens up once we're able to share and to open up and to crack, the surface of what's there.
Right on. Yeah. I like to call it, we're all giving permission by example.
Right.
Nobody needs permission, but if those guys are willing to talk about this and share what they've been through,
maybe it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can too. Because everybody has this feeling like, yeah, they could do it. But me, you know, I really have some really deep shit that, you know, it's just too much. And everybody thinks, we all think we're the only ones. And trust me, I was swimming in a pool of shame. I was swimming in a pool of self-hatred. I was swimming in all that crap.
Yeah,
You know,
it's another part of the masculine mask. Well, yeah, these other guys, well, they can get healed and they can get happy, but no, I've got the deepest pile of shit. Nobody knows, and then, again, it's another way to compete, right? Like
exactly.
It actually buys into that whole male psyche thing. It's like, I have to compete to see who has more shit. I have more shit than you do, type of a thing almost.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not just men, because even the human mind. If our transformation, if our growth, if our healing was simple, well, then I don't have an excuse. But if it's hard and it's complex and it takes a long time to figure out, well, there's part of the built-in defense to not have to do it.
Exactly. And like, guys, whoever's listening to this is the only work that we need to be doing, you know, and everything comes to show up, and you're going to be happier at work. You're going to be happier in your relationships. You're going to have so much more free time, you're going to be so much more relaxed. Everything that you want is going to come into your life once you're willing to look within and be brave enough to sit with your feelings. Because it's not enough to have a theoretical understanding of this stuff. You really have to embody it and feel into it, because that's where because in this path, so often we make it a mental process. And by making it a mental process, whether it's personal development or spirituality, we kind of push it away from us, the experience away from us. It's up here, it's in the ether. But when we bring it inside and we're feeling the fires of our energetic body, you know, and all the resistance that lies in there. And if we could sit through that and have support and somebody there to, you know, to reflect and to have a safe space for us to explore it and to feel into it and to soften into it. Oh man, like that, you know, that's the real deal right there. And your whole life opens up after that.
So you're taking your love of travel and your love of this inner work, and you're really putting them together. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Exactly. And my idea behind this was, again, I love travel. I love transformation. I love talking about this stuff, as you guys could tell. And so my idea was, what do guys, you know, when you say retreat, I don't know if so many guys want to be by the pool with other guys being pampered and getting massages. You know, I'm all about that. I love poolside and love getting massages, but I think guys love a mission. Guys love an objective. And so the idea is to have that very masculine sort of energy of having the goal of going to Machu Picchu, one of the most spectacular places on the planet, which I've been to twice, to have that, but then also on top of that, to have the space to have these conversations, to open up, to share what's going on. You know, what does it mean to be a man in your world? You know, what's been your experience growing up? You know, what does it mean to be a man in the 21st century? You might be in a relationship with a woman who makes more than you. How do you take that? Does that make you less of a man? These kind of questions that are so important for us to talk about, to open up about, you know? And so what's cool about it is that we get to do it surrounded by the Sacred Valley, you know, and all these majestic mountains. You know, we're going to have campfires. We're going to have, you know, cooks cooking amazing Peruvian food, which we were just speaking about, Apio, you know, the delicious ají de gallina and you know, papa la huancaína, all that good stuff. So yeah, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity to mix adventure with transformation in such an incredible place. And then what's cool is that there's going to be a shaman with us, and he's going to do two different ceremonies with us, a purification ceremony and a kind of a rebirthing ceremony. So it's going to be very powerful. I can't wait. I honestly can't wait. It's going to be great.
So and when is this happening?
August 6th through the 12th.
August 6th.
And so there are a few spots left for the early bird special, which gets you a $500 discount. So for those guys that are interested, check that out. You know, you don't want to miss that.
All right. Don't lose the opportunity here. Where would I check this out? Where am I going?
So check it out. You could go, there's two portals. One is my website, jonathanhermida.com. And you could find it through there. The other one would be awakenedjourneys.com. And it's all there.
Beautiful. And anyone just listening, if you're somewhere you can't write these things down, visit realmenfeel.org, and this will all be in the show notes, the various places you can sign up and get more information about this trip as well.
Perfect. Awesome.
So is the idea that to have kind of an annual event of going to Machu Picchu, or is your ideal like, always going somewhere different, or what are you looking at?
My ideal is going somewhere different and being open to staying in Machu Picchu, but really listening to the crowd. Where do people want to go? Where do you want to have these adventures? The West Coast of the States is a wonderful place as well, with all the indigenous communities out there. And, there's so many beautiful landscapes and environments to do this kind of work in. So it's really going to be evolving, over the years. And I'm so excited about that. And it's going to take different forms, and we'll see how it goes. But,
cool.
Sky's the limit.
And with you based in Germany, I'm just wondering, are most guys signing up? Are you finding people in Europe, or are you finding more men in the US, or who are you kind of attracting into this?
Interesting question. I'm involved in a coaching school, the Center for Transformational Coaching, that trains coaches to be able to facilitate transformation in others. And so actually being a part of that, I'm exposed to people from all over the world. So there's people interested, from India, some in Europe, Australia, but mostly in the States. Most of the guys are coming from the States.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of an interesting segue to the question that I've been having floating around in my head, and that is, how has your experience been dealing with men from different cultural backgrounds? And are there similar hangups? Do they have unique twists on, a variation on the theme, if you will? What have you observed as far as helping men from different cultures find that center, that transformational space?
Great question. What I found is that men from almost every culture have this. I don't know if burden is the right word, but it's almost like a burden of being the man, of being the provider, being the breadwinner. So it doesn't matter. I know guys in Africa, I know guys in India, in Asia, and men just across the globe feel this pressure of having to provide for their family. And so there is that kind of gender dynamic happening across the board where guys feel overwhelmed. And so they end up in a job that they're highly unhappy with and unsatisfied with. And so actually much less than the Western man, they're more willing to plow through it and to because that's their duty, that's a responsibility. And so this is their life, and they deal with it. And so it's in a sense, it's a little more, it's interesting because some of these, let's call it Asian cultures, it's very hard to generalize again, because everybody's an individual, but for the purposes of this explanation, the Western guy is a little more open, to taking risk, to looking into these things. And I've found, maybe the Asian man is, and some other cultures as well.
Which is curious because, it's like many of the philosophies that have been influencing the Western man come from the East, which I think is really, really fascinating, particularly in Buddhism, where you talk about acceptance in Buddhism, although acceptance in Buddhism is not about resignation. It is about accepting what is, and so that you can be able to flow through it, go through it, if you will. And I think that's really interesting how the Eastern male, if you will, and the Asian male, and again, just very, very general for purposes of the conversation, is more inclined to resign versus accept or be okay with what the current circumstances is in order to give them room to move on, to find something greater or better.
Right. And that's a great point about the Buddhist Eastern culture, because again, and this is the danger of stereotyping and something I don't really like doing, because I could think of so many men in that community that are, just open and very in touch with their feelings and emotions, and others that are not. Same with the American man, same with across the board. You find not just exceptions, but whole communities of people that are just, break the rules, and where the rules don't apply. And so, it always depends. And that's the important thing about the work that I do is, and I'm sure you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys do some one-on-one work, and everything is tailor-made to the person that's in front of you. Right. And what's going on in your life, what's happening, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And then you take it from there, and you form that kind of real relationship. You can't have, at least it's been my experience, you can't have a standard for, for everybody. And so
Yeah.
it's all about being flexible, being open, and doing the dance with the person across from you to make sure that you find the quickest way to achieve the best results that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if I'm a guy, and I don't have to pretend that much. So
If I'm a guy,
I'm a guy, and I think Machu Picchu is is a really cool place. It's been on my kind of wish list to get to. And so could you explain more? So what's the difference, if I just go book a trip myself to visit it versus I go with a group of men and with you?
Oh my God, there's a lot of differences in that. Well, first of all, you have everything taken care of for you already. Everything's booked, everything's done. From that standpoint of just going to Machu Picchu, going to Peru, going to the Sacred Valley, all these little details are already booked and planned for you. Where you're going to eat, where you're going to stay, you don't have to think about anything. On top of that, you have 2 coaches with you that are going to be providing group coaching, throughout the entire time period, which is incredible. What's funny, what's interesting about this trip is that this is the trip that I would love to be on, and I am going to be on it. That's part of the reason why I created it, is that this is something I've always wanted. I've always wanted to have an adventure trip mixed in with transformation, being able to have these conversations and for it to be purposeful. And so, we have all sorts of great topics, great exercises, great, tools and strategies for the participants. Again, we have a cook, we have a chef, we're going to have fireside chats, campsite chats. It's just a whole package deal, which I think is phenomenal, and you get absolutely everything. And on top of that, we have some pre-group coaching calls before the trip and some after. So that's the added bonus of that as well. So all of these, just the coaching itself, it can be several $1,000s, but you combine that with the trip and you get all these, the cultural experience and the culinary experience, and boom. I mean, I'm so excited about it.
Cool.
I'm getting hungry right now just thinking
Oh
about
my God, I'm starving. My girlfriend's out getting us some Thai food, so
and we're getting ready to do a Peruvian jalea right here. The show is done.
We spoke about it. I'll be in
We
Salt
did.
Lake.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Cool. So another term I know is you using, and it's in your website and literature, about the awakening man, and these you're calling these awakened journeys. So
Yes.
if I'm on the fence, I'm not sure, I don't like my life. Does that mean I'm ready to awaken? So what do you mean by what is the awakening man to you?
Yes, the awakening man is somebody who's in the process of discovering something more about themselves and their life. So this is a guy who's questioning, the mental dynamics, the mental limitations that have been in place up until then. So this is somebody who's spiritually aware that there's something more to life aside from, this material being and the thoughts that are in our head. Somebody who's socially conscious, somebody who understands the plight of their communities, of their country, of the world, and really wants to make a difference. So this is somebody who's waking up to be of service as well, to their life. Somebody who's heart-centered, somebody who's authentic, somebody who truly cares. So this is what the awakening man is somebody who's awakening to what's beyond the limitations of the egoic mind. That's simply what that is. And so that can encompass so many people, but yeah.
Cool. Beautiful. I love it.
Great question.
And when is there a moment in your own life, in your experience, that you can go, there's when my awakening began? Or were you like, at age 2, you aware of everything?
No. Well, you know what's interesting? They say, what do they say? They say
lots of things.
Who is they?
We had that question a couple of times.
Well, they say that your greatest flaw or weakness is your greatest strength. And one of the things that gave me the most trouble growing up was my self-consciousness. I was highly self-conscious. I was highly aware of what I perceived to be my limitations, and that kind of shame around me, like there's something wrong about me, there's something bad about me. So I was always hyper aware of how I was being perceived, and what people thought of me. And I masked it so well. I mean, again, the mask of masculinity can take some very strong manifestations, and I don't know how many people could have seen or know that existed within me then, because I masked it well, and I made sure to like keep people at a distance, so like, they couldn't get close enough. And so when my journey started to when it just became, I was suffocating in my own shit, I was just suffocating in my own mind, and I needed a release. And so I started, again, like I said, picking up these books. And what happened was, because I was already so internally focused, and I was so self-conscious, somehow it became easy for me to go from self-conscious to self-aware, just to take out the the judgment outside of that same viewing. So I think that very weakness became my strength, in that it allowed me to cut through and see the truth within me if I was willing to sit through it. Sometimes I rejected it. Sometimes I resisted it a lot. But when I was willing to sit through it, I was able to see it so clearly. So then that process became that interviewing became the light that began kind of healing things, simply by being aware and bringing into that awareness the people, the tools, the information that, my internal traumatic, energetic body needed to heal it. It became, I understood what I needed and when. And so that was my journey, just really being in my head a lot, and then just transferring that over slightly to a self-awareness.
That brings up an interesting phenomenon that I've certainly noticed with a lot of guys, and that is this being self-conscious translates into wanting to control everything. And perhaps one of the biggest challenges we as men face is being able to surrender ourselves to the process, to literally just go with that flow, to surrender it, because that's perhaps, in our culture anyway, in so many cultures around the world, there's this idea that if you surrender yourself, you're somehow being emasculated as a male. You're no longer truly male by just surrendering to and allowing whatever it is that shows up to show up and to embrace it.
Right. That's right. And with that word surrender, for a guy, are you kidding me? With a war mindset, surrender, we'll put up the white flag. And that's not what we mean by surrender. That's not what surrender is. Surrender is one of the most powerful forces that exists, because in surrender, again, what do they say? They say what you resist persists. And so what we're surrendering to is that resistance. So stopping the inner fight, the inner struggle. And so letting go of that inner grip that we have, like you said, to try to control everything. And that's what we're surrendering, that control. And then you could play with this, guys. You could play with this. You could let go a little bit and see what happens. Just test it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, read a book that guides you through it. If that doesn't work, seek support and somebody to help you with the surrender. All of this, you have all the tools that you need in order to begin letting go of the grip, because it's toxic. It's like an inner cancer, the grip of control that we have inside of ourselves. It's palpable. You feel it gripping your heart, gripping the root chakra there, like the groin areas, like you can feel all these things, in your body. The shoulders are tight and all these, it's there. It's very palpable. It's real, and so it's not a mind thing. It's an embodied process. Surrender is an embodied process.
Yeah.
Surrender.
And it doesn't mean giving up, which I think is a lot of guys' initial reaction.
No.
It's not giving up. It's more giving in. Like
it's opening up.
Yeah. And life can't beat you.
Exactly, yeah.
You can't feel the support. At least I can't feel the support of life itself for me if I haven't surrendered. If I think I've got it all, it's all just me, and I can control it. I must control it all. I'm not going to realize, oh wait, I can exhale, and oh, there's another breath waiting to come in. Simple thing.
And to build on that further, the whole idea of surrendering, because I think we also have this association, an emotional association, that the surrendering is the same as resigning. And in fact, by resigning ourselves to whatever our circumstances are, I'm like, well, I have to be the breadwinner or this or that, and resigning yourself to your misery, that is surrender. That is giving up.
Right. In that sense, yeah, exactly. That is the truth. That's the if you want to call it the negative version of the surrender that you might be thinking. You're giving up in life, and the opposite is true when you surrender to the flow. When you're open to, okay, I'm unhappy in this job. I don't know where I can get a new job, but I'm willing to let go of my grip that I have to be in this one. Just that. You don't have to make any decision, but just letting go of the grip. And then be willing to be open to possibilities. See what happens. See what life has in store. Just that. Just like you can play with this very delicately. It doesn't have to be like, boom, surrender everything. And, it doesn't work that way. Anyways.
I love, earlier you said that you kind of see this across all cultures, the burden of being a man.
Yeah.
And, I think surrender really ties into that, because I find that anything that feels like a burden, everything that's heavy, it feels that way because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what if the burden, like this universal burden that guys are feeling, well, maybe it's just been, decades or centuries of a mistaken sense of what it means to be a man.
Yeah.
So if just surrender to the possibility that everything you think you know about you is just a crock, and let it fall away, and see if your experience changes at all, and, just be willing to have a new experience.
Yeah, it's all learned behavior, really. That's what it is, and it's passed on from generation to generation, and it's in our cells. It's energetically, our parents pass it on to us, and you could feel it. And that's the biggest thing as well, with anybody listening to this. This is, always be gentle with this, and always be patient, because even a guy will take something like surrender, be like, I must surrender now, and like, why am I not surrendering, and surrender needs to happen, that kind of thing.
So
and
true.
Drive yourself crazy with that, and you turn it into like this thing, this goal, this mindset that's the opposite of what surrender is, and
the whole male dynamic plays right into that.
Yeah, as you're speaking of that, I get the image of like the Hulk. Instead of Hulk surrender,
Yeah. That's hilarious. Like us guys, like, okay, fine. I'm not going to be this domineering man anymore. I'm I'm going on a spiritual path, and I'm going to be enlightened. All right, let me meditate 14 hours a day, and let me, we take it to the extreme, and we try to control that experience too, and anytime we're in this state of control, it's all fear. It's all fear of losing, of not having control, of life being too much to deal with. It. That overwhelming feeling is, I think, what's scary for everybody, not just guys. But
kind of goes into the we got to make it happen. Make it happen. Force it to happen.
Yeah.
When in reality, it happens a lot faster when we're not trying to force it. When I'm doing my work with folks, I like to use the example of the river. The river gets from its source down to the ocean, or wherever it is that it's going. The fastest way for it to get there is to follow the course of least resistance, and not try to bore its way through the mountains, not try to make its way, force its way through. Yeah. It just keeps changing course. It just keeps going, and it gets there a hell of a lot faster than trying to force it, make it happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just looking at my own website. So I've been to Machu Picchu once. I was like, when was it? So it was 2006. So I'm really overdue. Okay. But since I've been there, so one of my favorite cities in the world is Cusco.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah. And I don't know why. Like, I've just felt like magical place. My first moments there just felt like it was just such a cool place, and everyone was open. But yeah, talk about multiple cultures and history, and I love how all the most ancient buildings are still standing, and everything new falls apart with earthquakes. And
that's right.
It was just a really magic place.
It is very magical. Yeah, and you're right. It does have that sort of the Spanish colonialism mixed in with the indigenous culture, and all these cute little side streets meandering through and up and down and across. And then you go to the main plaza square, and it's beautiful. And of course, you have the token McDonald's in the corner, which ruins everything. But
it's neat. Like I actually like a preview. Like, oh, look at the world trying to creep in here. Like,
yeah, it's like, no, why?
Yeah.
The next is McDonald's creeping up to Machu Picchu. That would be
okay. Hey, but you know what? It wouldn't be totally a McDonald's experience if they actually serve some cuy there. That would make it amazing.
some cuy.
Yeah. Cuy.
Wait,
What's guinea pig? That's
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Oh
Make
my
it
god.
a really improving experience. Here's your cuy. Faster.
Oh my god.
Faster than cuy. But,
Yeah.
Oh, is that the guinea pig?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I had that at place. Yeah.
Did you have it? Yeah.
Yeah. I got a picture. And they brought it like with the head on and smiling up at me like, oh my god.
The whole thing. It's like a little piglet.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. With the legs sticking up in the air.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have much meat. It's just basically crispy skin.
Yeah. Well, it had more meat than I expected. It wasn't like an American pet from a mall that I ate. But, although I haven't done that, so maybe I'm underrepresenting the meat on the American guinea pig. I don't know, but yeah, I went full bore. Yeah, I did that, and then also my wife and I got up one early morning and hiked Machu Picchu.
Oh, that's amazing.
And is that part of
Ooh.
of your trip at all?
The only reason it's not, we're doing a different one that I hadn't done. We're going to be doing the Sun Gate.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a whole different thing there. But because Huayna Picchu became very touristic, so basically you have to pay $90 to go up there, and there's they only allow 400 people to go through, and basically you only spend like a minute and a half up top before you have to go down. So at that point, it's not even worth it, you know. And I got to have lunch up there when I went, last time, and just hang out and look at the view. And for us to be marched off after a minute and a half, it's not worth it. But it's a phenomenal view.
Yeah. And when we hiked up, it was really a lot of cloud cover. So we're hiking up and can't see. I'm like, it's really steep and tough, and then coming back like, oh my god, the clouds are like, it was this steep and high.
Yeah, and it's cool. You see the meandering of the street where you go there on the bus, and it's cool. You see it.
Awesome. Yeah. So
I have to say, I actually have some of that where I am here in Salt Lake, actually. So some of our trails just above.
Okay.
Of the city. Yeah, we have some of those trails where you're looking down. It's like, oh shit.
I love the mountains. It's awesome.
I love it.
So the trip itself is coming up in August. So are there any deadlines people need to be aware of if they're thinking about this? And
yeah, the deadline would be May 31st. Actually, would be the last day you could sign up. And actually, stay tuned. I have a group coaching program that's coming up. That's going to be an offshoot of the trip. It's not mandatory for you to be on the trip to do the group coaching, but it is going to be for guys. It's going to be topped off at 7 guys, and it'll be with myself and Scott, which is the co-leader of the adventure trip. And you could read more about Scott on the Adventures Awaken Journeys website, awakenjourneys.com.
Beautiful. And is the website the best way for people to reach out and connect with you?
Absolutely. JonathanHermida.com or Awaken Journeys, but I prefer JonathanHermida.com, and just send me a message and reach out. Yeah.
Beautiful. So in your continuing awakening, kind of like what's your ideal? Are you sticking in Germany? Are you going to move to Machu Picchu, or what kind of feels like what's calling to you?
I've somehow convinced my girlfriend to be in this surrendered mindset. I don't know how she went for it, but we're very open. We're very open to see kind of what happens. Where we have the possibility of being here up to October. We don't know. We don't know if we'll be here till then. We don't know if we'll go back to Miami. We don't know if another opportunity will open up. So we're staying completely wide open, surrendering to what's happening, and willing to go and experience whatever life is calling for us to do. So that's kind of how we're approaching this time period in our life, and taking advantage of it for as long as we can.
Yeah, my invitation would be, well, don't let that open period close.
No. I only say, with kids and all this stuff, you do have another consideration to take into, the surrendered lifestyle might be a little more difficult when you have, a 2-year-old to feed. But so when it's just us two, we're good.
Well, sometimes you might have to surrender to the 2-year-old. That's
I think more often than not.
For sure. Even if they're grandkids.
Even if they're grandkids. Oh, I bet.
When they're around, yeah, you totally surrender to them.
Yeah. It's all about them.
It totally is. And I will admit that I have totally, absolutely spoiled my grandkids.
Well, that's the role of the grandparent. The parents are the ones that are the disciplinarians. The grandparents are spoilers.
I totally love to do that. Spoil them and hand it back to the parents.
Yeah.
I don't your anyone ever complain about the burden of being a grandfather.
No, never.
Oh no.
Your grandkids show up with like jacked up on Coca-Cola and
pretty
sugar.
much. But it's fine because when they're amped up like that, it kind of matches my level anyway. So we're totally good.
Nice.
But have
you visited Machu Picchu?
I haven't yet. I mean, I know all about it because like so many of my friends have actually been there. And we have our reasons. I have made a conscious decision until Ivan and I are actually able to travel together. There's the whole backstory behind that whole thing, but I've made a conscious decision. I'm not going to go to Peru until we can go together.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Makes sense.
So, Jonathan, you want to share any more about kind of your group programs outside of the trip itself?
For the time being, I mean, just make sure to go to jonathanhermida.com and sign up, get on the newsletter. Once you do, you'll get all the updated information. But yeah, that should be coming up in 2 months. And basically, we're going to be bringing together a group of 7 guys, 7 guys who are looking to get more in touch with their higher self, more in touch with their purpose, more in touch with what they should be doing in life. Creating a healing space for us to share together and to kind of mastermind around creating the ideal life. And so, yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to that. And again, for you to receive more information, just make sure to sign up to the newsletter and I'll send that out in a couple weeks. I'm sure.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I definitely want to hear how the trip goes, so I'll talk to you, and maybe you'll even come back and give a full report about how.
I would love that. That would be great. Definitely.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. You got me excited. I'm having all my flashbacks to Machu Picchu, and definitely feel overdue. And
yeah, absolutely.
And I do love the notion of I've recently been doing some all men's things. I've recently been doing work with the Mankind Project and having experience of going to something that's with just men.
I saw your video, man. That was powerful. You're sharing about it.
It's different.
Yeah,
it's more different than I thought it would be. So yeah. I bet your trips are just gonna kick ass in all the right ways.
Right on.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely.
All right. So Real Men Feel will be live again next Tuesday, March 28th, 8 p.m. Eastern, when our favorite escort and stripper, sex worker advocate, Kimberly Klein, joins us again. We're going to be doing a live Q&A show.
I need to be on that call.
Yeah, you can join live and ask questions and be seen and heard, really be part of the show. Or if you want to be a little bit more anonymous, you can submit questions via email in advance. You can send an email to realmenfeelshow@gmail.com. Or if you want to kind of blur the line of anonymous and seen, you can even submit questions via Twitter. So if you use the hashtag #AskKimberly and tweet at realmenfeel.org or @KimberlyKlein, and that's a way to get all your burning questions for things you ever wanted to ask an escort, a stripper, about sex workers in general, about how to connect to women, about how to connect to men, about just what's your favorite meatloaf recipe? I don't know. So whatever's top of mind for you.
Even if you want to learn how you can help to advocate on their behalf as well, too.
Yeah. Whatever. So many ways I could have gone with that one, but yeah,
that's where we're tossing this out there.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks again, Jonathan.
Awesome.
Wish
Thank
you great
guys.
success with
Appreciate it.
With your assistance in awakening yourself further and awakening other men.
Thank you, guys.
Travel and adventure. I love that whole idea and motif. And Appio, thanks for getting up early on a Sunday.
Yeah,
thank you both.
I'm enjoying it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this was great.
Cool. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us live. Give us some feedback. Share some burning questions for Kimberly, or not so burning questions for us. It's all good. We're glad to hear from you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Be well.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Real Men Feel. Until next time, visit realmenfeel.org, join the Real Men Feel group on Facebook, and share what you thought of this show. Please give this podcast a review on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you are discovering Real Men Feel. Reach out to us at realmenfeel@gmail.com. Learn more about Andy Grant at theandygrant.com and Appio Hunter at appiohunter.com.